Hey there, how you doing? A mild Sunday. You can hang your Christmas lights, take the dog for the walk. No Packers football to watch, but a Fox 6 Sports Blitz to take you home, capping off your Sunday. Here is our starting lineup. The Packers experience some Motown blues as the Lions go forth and prosper. Our loquacious lefty makes us say what? Will the Bucs NBA Cup runneth over? And our high school hotshot excels in two sports and away from athletic competition as well.
They are going. And then Goff falls down, but Montgomery is able to pick up the first down. And this should seal it. They'll run the clock down, pick the field goal. What a call.
College football, Jared Goff would have been down for his knee touching there, but not so in the NFL. And the Lions convert on fourth down. They make the field goal. They beat the beat the Packers, I should say. Brandon Cruz is here. Tim Van Voorn. Lily Zhao is here. We'll kick this game around. We'll get through what looks to be upcoming for the next month. Lily, I'll lead off with you. Did the Packers offer a winning performance in any way the other night?
I think in the second half they did. I think it was just a little discouraging, right? In their three divisional games against the Vikings and Lions, they just get out to a slow start, and that just kind of puts them behind the eight ball. But when you see them get going in the second half after making those adjustments at halftime, that's the Packers team that I think a lot of us expected to see in the first half as well. But because they dug themselves into a hole, it was one they could not overcome. But again, I think a lot to like from that game despite the loss. You went toe-to-toe with perhaps the best team in the NFL, and you like kind of what your team was able to do, add some more time on the clock, and maybe we're talking about a different outcome there for Green Bay. So I think there's a lot to take away from it, but I think the most that they can get out this week outside of getting a win over Seattle is just get healthy. A lot of guys banged up, especially on defense. All right,
we'll get to the defense in a moment. Let's go to the offense, though. Obviously, Jordan Love had another clean game, but Brandon, Christian Watson had some big plays in this game, and he has come forward. Now, he had to fumble, but he's come forward here in the last couple of weeks and asserted himself.
Yeah, and he's had to. Romeo Doubs has been out, and they need somebody who could be a deep threat but also make clutch plays, and he was able to do that in this game. It was just unfortunate for him and the Packers that he did make that fumble, but besides that, he was great for Jordan Love, and he created so many opportunities for this team, setting up score after score. So you see that, you like that with these next four games going, and you realize how valuable he is to this offense and its success.
And he is more of the explosive play type guy. The Lions don't do explosive plays. They're shorter. And the Packers with their run game didn't have those explosive plays. Josh Jacobs was more of a bang, bang, bang kind of night.
And that's what you get from him. I mean, you might get a 15-yard run, but a lot of it is a 4 or a 5-yard run that is just trying to get yards and just keeping the momentum going and the series going. And that's something you did see with him as well. And what we also see with him is he's more involved in the pass game, which does help diversify this offense and create more problems matchup-wise for the defenses. And when you see Josh Jacobs getting 3 touchdowns a game, it's starting to become a little more routine. It bodes well for this team, but that means the defense has to stop and not necessarily be on the field as long. So what you need and what we saw, especially in the first half, 3 and outs, not good for this offense. They need more from this offense, and that means Jacobs a lot more work and a lot more opportunity to keep the drives going.
The way Jacobs is pounding it in there, we're not hearing about the red zone issues anymore, Lily. The way Brandon McManus is doing his job, we're not hearing about the kicking anymore. But defensively, we're still talking about, is there enough pass rush there? Not that Jared Goff's going to sit back there in the pocket a long time and wait. That's not his game. But there will be some other quarterbacks as the season goes along who do like to do that, and that pass rush remains at least a question mark as we hit December.
Absolutely, and you can talk about Geno Smith coming up, right? He certainly can utilize his legs, but
Sure.
When you looked at just the product on the field, the question is, where is the pressure? Because when you look at just Jared Goff facing pressure versus without pressure, stats astronomically different, and unfortunately for Green Bay, it was a lot of times without pressure, and he was making them pay, especially over the middle of the field, and so they have to find a way just to get more pressure on opposing quarterbacks. I don't know if you just have to blitz more, but then the screen game hurts them in that regard, or the quarterback is able to escape like Caleb Williams was able to do a couple weeks ago. So they just have to find a way just to kind of quell that and find an answer up front because, I mean, quite frankly, they were kind of bullied on the defensive line and they haven't been able to get after opposing quarterbacks. And that's been something we've talked about all season long, but it really hasn't been fixed.
Well, and the Lions like to bully players and teams. That's what they like to do up front. The Packers, you talked about it earlier, do have some injuries on the defensive side to concern themselves with. Jair Alexander did not play again. They had a couple of safeties go down in that game. Corey Ballantyne wasn't there either, which is another defensive back. What about Zane Anderson?
Making the most of his opportunities, right? You have to. You have to.
Yeah, Zane Anderson hadn't played very many snaps at all in his career from scrimmage, and he got in there quite a bit the other night. Brandon, you look at this Lions team, you look at this Packers team. The Lions have an identity. Do the Packers?
They're getting there. I think that they're on the verge. I think they've had enough success of late, with the exception of that loss, that you're starting to see a pretty prolific offense. And I think that is their identity. It's not a completely balanced attack, meaning they're not playing all the time complementary football, and that is where they are lacking the identity. They need to be able to, as you mentioned, increase the pass rush and the pressure there, and they need to get a little healthier in the defensive back end. And if they can do that, then maybe they will go into the playoffs with that identity of being a complementary football team, much like the Lions are. But right now it's predominantly their offense that dictates if they're going to be able to win or stay in a game.
Next up, a Sunday nighter against the Seattle Seahawks, who are a playoff team.
They are, and they're a good defensive team. So this is going to be a good challenge for the Packers offense and Jordan Love. And I think Lily got off to a great point here. They need a quick start because they didn't have that against the Lions, and that's what ultimately hurt them, because they went toe-to-toe in the second half, but they had built such a deficit in the first half that it was hard to overcome, even though they did take the lead a couple of times. I think the similar thing could happen in Seattle if they don't establish their offense early and right away, because they don't want to play from behind against that defense and in that element in Seattle.
You said it's an element. It's loud there. It's a December night game. You don't know what the conditions are going to be, and the Seahawks like to get it rolling for sure. You mentioned Geno Smith earlier, Lily. He's had a resurgence out there in his career.
He really has, and he has offensive weapons around him as well, a good defense, and you just put the right quarterback in, and they find success. And so far, that's been Geno Smith thus far, leading his Seahawks into potentially a nice spot in the playoffs. And so he really has played well for this team, is able to dole out the football, pass it off. He has talented running backs as well, but they're able to make do. And I think that's what makes his team so difficult, is that they have a lot of weapons. And when Geno Smith is on fire, he really is a great quarterback. So he's going to be a big challenge for this Packers defense. Can they get pressure on him? Can they affect him in any sort of way passing wise, but also try to contain him and not let them or him burn you with his legs?
And we've heard the names for years, Lockett, DK Metcalf. Jackson Smith and Jigba is really a valuable wide receiver in his early stages of his career.
Well, I would think that the relationship that he and Geno now have, you can see that they have found a very good comfort level in this offense. And you'd argue, I mean, you can't say that Metcalf's not the most important receiver he has, but this is the guy that I think that really keys them into moving down the field and keeping drives alive and hitting key moments. And I think with the relationship that they're showing on the field, it just adds to the danger of this offense. It's not necessarily explosive, but they have such big moments, and they have the ability to score when they need to because of plays like that.
And say, Lily, you mentioned earlier the Packers end up facing the Seahawks again in the playoffs. Do you keep it a little closer to the vest at all this upcoming Sunday because of that possibility, or no?
That's a good point, and I've seen that kind of being brought up, right? Does Matt LaFleur keep it more conservative per se, or does he kind of throw everything out there? But I think at this point, Matt LaFleur is going to tell you it's the next team on the docket. We're going to play like we're going to play, and if we end up playing them again in the postseason, it is what it is. But I don't think this is a team that's going to hold anything back, because they know, any win in the NFL any week is valuable for them. They want to get to that 10-win mark on Sunday. And so I don't think they're going to hold anything back per se or play more conservatively, considering the fact they could potentially face Seattle in that wild card
round.
But
they can. They can, though, because there's so much room to work with in the NFC standings that they could technically afford a loss. If you look at this, I mean, they are at least 2 games above everybody who's trying to get into the playoff picture. So in theory, they don't have to worry about just getting this win. They could hold back.
Right, and they're in so many one-score games that they generally have prevailed in those. I think they're 4-4 in the conference, though, so you don't want to slip too far there. I agree with you. You'd think everything's set up here for the Packers. They still have 4 games left in the regular season, though. They should be in good position to get in, and they could take a big step for that against Seattle coming up next Sunday night. That is a night game. It's this run of night games. We want to let you know that we'll be on a half an hour later than normal next week because of the night game, so we can give you all the reaction coming out of Seattle. So it's 11 o'clock next Sunday night for the FOX6 Sports Blitz from Milwaukee and Seattle. We're going to tell you a little bit about the basketball over the weekend, the I-94 rivalry, Marquette and Wisconsin living up to its billing. Brandon, you were in there. First time in Shaka Smart's career, the Golden Eagles beat the Badgers. Marquette's second half push Cam Jones, 32 points. They're able to win it 88-74. A lot of happy Marquette alums and fans after that one going the way it did this year after several years the other way around. We're coming back with more of the Blitz after this.
Do I vote? I don't even know if I vote for her.
You really want to ask that question out of the gate?
I just like getting people's attention with something.
My significant other think he's sexy, so.
Wow. That was interesting. Was that Taylor Swift?
Man, Chase is Chase, man, and he knows we need him. He think I'm playing, but some of the stuff he do with his body, I tell him he the closest thing to Bron. And they say Bron, we all know about Bron.
Wow, LeBron James. And Greg Gard was talking about him, saying he plays like an old man, but in a good way. He meant that in a good thing.
That's a compliment.
The other basketball being played on that court has been by the Bucks. Been a big week for them. They see Chris Middleton back. He's played a couple of games. What are you thinking about his return and what he's showing on the court at this point?
Big picture, that's the biggest thing about this week, no question about it. Middleton coming back the other night, and then today, he's not giving you 20 points every night right now, but he can snipe it. Boy, he had a couple of shots there just in a little slurry today against Brooklyn where it's reminding fans and other teams what this big three can really look like when you have those guys operating. Middleton, Lillard, and Giannis.
And then you add in Gary Trent Jr. He's been really providing a lot of points and a lot of minutes. Does that change now that Middleton's working his way back into this lineup?
Yeah, I think so, because you want Chris Middleton to be that guy, right? And you want him to kind of work back into the starting lineup, and he's coming off the bench right now, of course. But I think Gary Trent Jr. has really been a nice addition to this Bucks team. You want him for his defense, but also he's getting back on the scoring track. I think he kind of lost a little bit of his confidence there shooting-wise in a couple games, but it seems like he's really picked that up. 20 points today against the Brooklyn Nets, so nice to see him getting going offensively. And I think he's really had some nice moments with this team as well, getting back on track, shooting the three ball, and I just love his defense. So he's really providing a lot for this team, and that's exactly why they brought him to Milwaukee.
And we're seeing Bobby Portis starting to reemerge in the old Bobby that we had seen. We hadn't seen that much early in the season, but this week he's starting to show himself on the court again, and especially in the win today.
Yeah, he has struggled this season to kind of just capture that impact that he's been able to provide at earlier stages of his Bucks career. But today, maybe his best game, probably of the season, 23 points. He was active defensively. There was one sequence when he had a block. The play continued. He had another block. That's a lot of energy being exerted and a lot of impact as we go back to the word that he can provide.
And energy needed for the NBA Cup. They have advanced to the knockout round. They were the number one seed in the East. They host Orlando on Tuesday. How big of a deal is it now that they're one win away from going to Vegas?
I think it's a big deal, right? I think Doc Rivers talked about, first of all, the NBA Cup kind of being a spark for this team when they were down and just finding ways to win. They were 4-0, and this is a team that wants to win. It's a tournament. Guys want to win it. There's money at stake, of course. So I think, getting to Las Vegas will be their ultimate goal, and I think it's going to be a big day on Tuesday when they do host the Orlando Magic here in Milwaukee to get a win and to move on and, of course, win some money.
The Magic, though, come to town, and they're beat up. They just lost Franz Wagner, and they also have another forward out. Does that kind of open the door for these guys to move on to Vegas and get into the Final Four?
Sometimes in any sport, it's when you play these teams. Orlando was real hot in this early, and as you said, they've tailed off, and they've had some injuries. Coached by the Milwaukee native, Jamal Mosley, and they have talent, but it is depleted right now, and the skies could be, or the sea could be kind of parting here for the Bucks to get a trip to Vegas. Lily's right about all the things they want, and a trip to Vegas isn't bad on the list either.
Not at all.
Well, it was funny. We had mentioned Bobby Portis last week when they were talking about this. He's like, it's 5, 7, 8 days in Vegas. What does it do for the players to get this chance to maybe, if they go to Vegas, to kind of get away from everything and enjoy what Vegas is and what this tournament gives to them? Because now every step of the way, they're getting more and more money.
Absolutely. I think that's a big key, right? And it's a nice bonding experience for this team, right? Doc Rivers tried it in the offseason, and hopefully that's a nice chance for these guys just to get closer together. I think Vegas will be another good opportunity for them to do that. And, of course, like you mentioned, get to love Vegas. These guys have been, I'm sure, plenty of times and played there before, and it's just a nice chance for them to do so again. But I think that money aspect of it, the more you keep winning, the more you get, and I think that's another big motivator.
That is where USA basketball is, so some of these guys have spent some time in Vegas playing, but we will see how they do that. Again, they host the Magic on Tuesday downtown for a chance to go to Vegas. But remember, the Lakers won it last year, and where were they in the end?
You're not going to hang a banner.
Exactly. All right. Well, Willie Adames has found a new home. The former Brewers shortstop has landed a deal with the mighty Giants in San Francisco. It's a 7-year, $182 million deal. Now, he spent 4 years in Milwaukee, as you recall, and last year he had a career best in home runs, RBIs, and stolen bases, and the Brewers will receive a compensatory pick for Adames. That'll be after the first round between the second round of the upcoming draft this summer. And the Marquette and Wisconsin women's volleyball teams have moved on to the Sweet 16. The Badgers are back there after taking care of Georgia Tech 3-1. They'll face Texas A&M on Friday. The Golden Eagles are back in the Sweet 16, only the third time in program history after knocking off Utah in 5 sets. They face Penn State on Friday. We're going to be right back with our high school hotshot.
They're going to the Sweet 16.
Welcome back. From the gridiron to the ice, this senior is excelling as a two-sport athlete. And away from sports, that's also where he shines. That's why he is this week's Fox 6 High School Hotshot.
Hi, I'm Reed Pumala. I'm a senior at West Scotia Central High School, and I play hockey for the Kenosha Thunder. Hockey was my first sport. I skated when I was 3 years old. My dad played hockey when he was in high school and throughout all of his childhood, actually. And he had me skating when I was 3, and it was just since birth kind of my thing. I loved watching it, loved playing it, loved practicing it. I started playing football my sophomore year in high school. I gravitated towards it because I wanted to try a new sport. Once I realized Thunder was an option, I started playing football and doing both. My favorite football memory is running the ball into the end zone against Badger on senior night. They let me have that moment, which was pretty cool. They just kind of surprised me on senior night. Didn't let me know, so they just called like, hey, you're going in at running back, and I ran it in. I'm committed to Carthage College to play tight end. I love being close to, my job at Matthias Academy right now. I love being close to Kenosha. I moved from Zion when I was 10, and I just fell in love with Kenosha. My mom founded Matthias Academy. It is a nonprofit adult day program in Salem, Wisconsin, and it serves the needs of adults with disabilities, either cognitive or physical. I'm an assistant professor in the Kappa Psi frat house. All the rooms are named after frat houses. I work with mainly students with wheelchair-bound disabilities. I'm around the room and I teach them how to play different sports, how to manage a schedule, how to do certain daily tasks. And I've always enjoyed the feeling of saying like, hey, I helped this person and they're achieving goals because of me. So I started the Falcons Zone podcast. I think it's fun to sit there on a mic and call my friends' games.
Shoots, Hunter scores!
I think it's hilarious. We have funny moments on there. We're not serious 100% of the time. So spring has lacrosse, baseball, softball is a big one that we're gonna try and do. Maybe a track event at some point. I'm Reed Pumala. I'm a senior at West Scotia Central High School. I'm the captain of the Kenosha Thunder, and I'm this week's Fox 6 High School Hotshot.
Incredible work there, Reed, and he also sees his athletic involvement in the future as a coach in either hockey or football, or maybe both. We'll be right back.
1 week from now, we'll be talking about this. Green Bay Packers at Seattle Seahawks, 7:20 start our time. Again, late start for the Fox 6 Sports Blitz next week, 11 o'clock. Lots of reaction and analysis.
And the Bucks, they are back on the court Tuesday hosting the Orlando Magic. It's the NBA Cup quarterfinals, folks. If Milwaukee wins, they are headed to Vegas.
And college basketball, Wisconsin tries to get its first Big Ten win as they take on Illinois. UWM goes to Green Bay. Hopefully Bart Lundy can find his way there. And Marquette goes to Dayton on Saturday night. And then the Admirals, they take on the Iowa Wild Friday. And then it's the Ice Hawks on Sunday in Rockford.
Good stuff. The world of sports coming up.
It's a busy week,
too. It's
too.
going to be a fun week.
Yeah, absolutely. Admirals just lost twice to the Wild this week. It's going to be looking for a little revenge on that one. NBA Cup excitement is where on a 1 to 10 scale for you?
I'm going to say a 7.
7?
Why not?
All right.
Fun. Brandon's like, no,
I'd
not
say
so
a
much.
4, but hey,
All right. If they win Tuesday, though,
then it changes.
They could pick
Up to
right
7.
up. All right. We'll see you again next Sunday.